let's get started making our product advertisement. First, let's do a new file. We're going to make this one the size of a regular piece of paper. Pretend this is just hanging out inside of an advertisement that you'd see in a magazine. So it's going to be 8.5 by 11 inches, and I'll put the resolution at 300. Click create, and it's opened up. So the first thing we're going to do is bring in our product, and then everything else can kind of go around that, or behind it, or in front of it. So bring in the image that you took of your product. So I've got a picture of a camera I'm going to be using. And we'll just hit enter. You can always resize things later. Now, most likely you're going to be cutting your object out of whatever it was in. You may end up having a situation where you want to leave it in if you've got a nice background already set up. But to select things, we can easily do this by going up to the select menu on the top of Photoshop and then doing subject. It should do a pretty good job. If it selects more than what you want, here's the reflection. You can use any of the selection tools to minus away some of the selection. Hold Alt on your keyboard, and all of a sudden you'll see a minus next to your mouse. And you can circle around. In this case, I'm using the lasso tool to get rid of things that I don't want. Now, let's say that it didn't get something that I did want. For example, right here. I'm going to go into a different tool. I'm going to use the magic wand, and I'll hold shift. I can click on that to see if it can grab it. Now, if it does something like this, that means probably not the best type of selection tool to work with. So instead, maybe I'll try the quick selection tool. Hold shift, point it in. It did a great job. I've got a few other areas here that I need to tidy up. So I'll go into one of my selection tools, use the magic wand, and minus it away, holding Alt again to minus away things. And magic wand may not work all the time. Control Z to undo, and you can use a different one. So I'll go around and get my selection looking the best that it can, and then I'll show you the next step. Alright, my selection is all set. Now what I'm going to do is hit the Layer Mask button, which is hanging out right here at the bottom of my Layers palette. Just the rectangle with the circle in the middle. And that'll cut my product out. Even after I do this, if I notice that there's some part of the product that's not showing up, or I need to get more taken away, I can always go in on my Layer Mask and paint things away. Painting black with the brush gets rid of things. Painting white brings them back. You'll see how you can get rid of more if you need to, or bring something back. Everything matters though based on the layer that you have selected, and also if you're on the picture itself or if you're on the Layer Mask. Layer Mask is getting rid of stuff or bringing it back. And the picture itself is, if you want to do some actual edits on the product itself. Alright, so then after you've selected out your object, you're going to be working on a background. Right now I just have a plain old white background. What I might decide to do is add in a gradient. So perhaps I'll add a new layer in here, drag that below the camera, and then go over to my gradient tool. That's hiding underneath the paint bucket. And I could select a gradient that I think would be nice for my advertisement. There's a lot of gradients already programmed in on Photoshop. Find something you think that might be nice and give it a shot. Gradients you can add in by clicking and dragging a line across. Where you start your click is beginning color. Where you end your click is it transitioning then to the secondary color. Play around with how the gradient looks. Make a decision about what you think would look good. Alright, so right now we just have this product kind of hovering, hanging out. It might be a good idea to have it look like it's sitting on something that, you know, looks nice. So I'm going to add in a new layer, and I'm going to have this be a different type of gradient. So I'm going to add in first a selection with my rectangular marquee tool. I'm going to line this up just like this. Now, if I do a gradient within this layer, it's only going to be within the selection. So perhaps I'll do another gradient, and I'm going to start with a gradient that has a darker color first. Maybe I'll do something like this. And I could have the gradient be dark behind and then get lighter up front. Or I could have it the opposite direction. Maybe it's dark down low and then light up at the top. I could deselect, doing Control D, and I could even transform that ground after the fact if I want it to be looking a little bit different. I could try to make just some graphics in general, you know, different layers with different shapes. Just try to make things look interesting. One thing that might be kind of nice on this is to create a reflection of the actual object. If you want to do something like that, you can duplicate your layer by dragging the layer of the product down to the very bottom. Then I'm going to transform that layer, doing Control T, and I'm just going to drag the top little box, and I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to drag it down backwards. Now you'll likely have to hold Shift in order to make this happen. If you don't hold Shift, you might end up having an issue with it being able to flip around. So here I've got it set up. It could be even nice if I did a little bit of a perspective thing to this. So I'm going to right click within, I'm going to go perspective, and I can make it so that it looks like it's going away, that it's coming out. I think in this case coming out would make a little bit more sense with how reflection looks. Just going to hit enter, and I've got to move this behind the real product. Just like that. I want to line it up just perfect. And then a reflection isn't as, the opacity should be lower because you want it to be a little bit see-through. So I'm going to lower the opacity down just a little bit on here. This is a way to kind of create a fake reflection. Alright, so this is starting to look pretty cool. I'm going to be adding in some text and work with that in my next video.